Welcome, friends. I bid you all love and light. I hope that you're all healthy and safe, as well as sane, with everything that's been going on. Peter asked Jesus how many times that he should forgive a person who had sinned against him, and if that should be 7 times. And Jesus answered, "Nay, but 70 times 7. That would be 490 times that we should try to see another's explanation or interpretation." Ancient mystics claim that there are at least 7 interpretations to every query. I believe this to be 7 times 7, 7 interpretations in 7 different contexts, 7 by 7 being 49. These are a few of my own. The Ark of the Covenant. Some may agree and some may not agree with my theories and my connections, and that's perfectly all right. But these are my original thoughts, theories, and ideas. I did not copy them, read them, or watch them, or gain them from any other person or place. So, it's very possible that some other people, like Mr. Astrotheology or Mr. is it Donovan? I don't follow these people, but it's very possible, or anyone else may have a different interpretation or opinion or theory or view. And as I said, that's okay. But I'd like to share what I've gleaned. It was easy to make the connections and see it all in my head and understand everything, but finding the imagery and then explaining it to others is something on a much grander scale, but I'm going to do my best. Now, in my opinion, the very first thing that we should always do is to go in and break down each word and see exactly what definitions we can find. So I'm going to share a few of those with you. Ark is a noun. Phonetically, it would be A-R-K. The apparent path described above and below the horizon by a celestial body such as the sun. Another definition: arc, a part of the circumference of a circle, a bow, or another curve. The zodiac is made up of 12 small 30-degree arcs, and altogether they make one full sphere, or the zodiac circle. 3. A sustained luminous discharge of electricity across a gap in a circuit or between electrodes or heavenly bodies. This one's probably my most favorite. Arc, a noun, a continuous progression or line of development. And now for the word covenant, we'll start with the root of it, which is coven, and we'll see what is out there for the definitions. We have in the 1660s covent or couvent, and at that time they decided that it meant a gathering of witches, a meeting, gathering, or assembly, which is all correct except for the witches being thrown in there. And then we continue to trace it further to find the roots, and they got it from the Old French convent or convent, monastery, religious community, and then that was derived from conventus, the Latin word for assembly, which came from earlier Latin convenire, to come together, meet together, still the same thing. And that was broke down into veneer, Latin to come, and it came from com, C-O-M, Latin for with or together. So, like right there, I see a discrepancy. If the root was com veneer, com is positive, con is negative. So I'd say right about in that timeline, something got switched upside down and a positive got changed into a negative, and then we ended up at the end with a coven of witches, a negative thing. But as we can say, it started out co or com, which is just come together. And that's about all I could find online. They all said pretty much the same exact thing. So I decided that I would break it down and decipher the word covenant myself. Okay, so co means two or more coming together, to with or join. So that's good. I'll skip the middle part and we'll go to the ant. A-N-T and E-N-T are both it really depends on the letters before the A-N-T and E-N-T. I'm not going to go into that, but E-N-T and A-N-T, same type of thing. It's the suffix that's used to form a noun of agency or give it ownership of, or you're in charge of. Forms nouns of agencies to persons or things who perform an action, therefore making it like a vessel or a tool. It could be a person or a thing. So that's the ant. Two or more things coming together for one purpose. And the things or the people are the ant. So then, roots in, I think it was Old English, but I wrote Middle English. The roots in Middle English, Old English, would be vein, V-E-I-N, or V-E-Y-N-E, borrowed from the Anglo-French veni, going back to the Latin vena, which is a blood vessel or a water channel of obscure origin. Very important. If you go then from, trace it back, the vena, the Latin, you'll come with the root vent or vente, which means to give passage or outlet to something, or two, the act of taking or drawing in air or breath. To vent, a passage that air, water, or something else can be drawn into with. And all of this will make a lot of sense once I start showing you all of the imagery. Immediately when I broke all of the words down, words popped in my head, and they were arteries, veins, nerves. So I said, okay, well, I must be on the right track. Covene or covent, I immediately thought, channels, the right channel and the left channels in the body, from the vagus nerve or the pneumogastric nerve, which is actually two nerves, the right and the left, the ida on the left and the pingala on the right. And there are 12 cranial nerves, or 12 pairs of cranial nerves in the human brain. And their job is to permit nerve cells to pass electrical arcs or chemical signals to neural tube or channels in the body or the cells. They bridge the gap, arc, between the body and the mind. And just like we touched on that there are 12 small arcs that make up the complete sphere of the zodiacal circle, there are 12 cranial nerves that make up the whole sphere of our heads, brains, cranial, the left and the right hemisphere. Now, this is the one that we're interested in. Cranial nerve 10, or it's called cranial nerve X because Roman numeral is X for 10. The vagus pneumogastric nerve supplies nerve fibers to your throat area, the lungs, heart, and your digestive organs. It's a nerve that confers sensitivity to the respiratory mucous membranes of the pharynx, the larynx, the esophagus, the trachea, the lungs, and the bronchi. And it transmits rhythm, strength, and frequency in breathing to push and move air in a channel. Covent, two or more veins, vents, or channels. Now, the vagus nerve is rooted in the medulla oblongata, which is in the brain stem. It connects the spinal cord to the cerebellum part of the brain. The connection is made up of 3 parts of nerve bundles that are known as cerebellar peduncles. In addition, the brain stem also serves as the connection, filling in the gap, that's the actual definition of the arc that we just read, between the cerebrum and the cerebellum, to the 4 main regions of the brain, which you might want to note: 4 living creatures in Revelation and Ezekiel. 12 pairs of cranial nerves is 24. The 24 elders in the book of Revelation. Now, your vagus nerve, or the cranial nerve X, if you could open up your mouth and look in a mirror and say ah right behind your uvula, the little thing, your little punching bag that hangs down, if you could see through all of the flesh, it's dead center, right at the vagus nerve. There's a test to see if the vagus nerve is working properly or if you have some kind of dysfunction, and that is to do what I just said. Go into your bathroom, whatever, get a mirror, open your mouth and say ah. Your tonsils on both sides, they should constrict. They should pull in and like suck to the sides of the walls of your throat. The uvula should pop up, it should constrict, and it should pull back, therefore making that archway a little bit more defined. So I thought that was very interesting. There's a test to see if yours is working properly. And I also thought it was pretty interesting that there's another arc or another arch. And just open your mouth and you'll see it. In Latin, the word vagus means wanderer or wandering. And it's a proper name for the vagus nerve because it's the only nerve that continues down into the body. It doesn't stay in the brain alone like the other ones do. It's the longest reaching nerve of the body, and it runs from the brain stem and it goes all the way down to our colon. Along the way, it hits the larynx, the esophagus, the lungs, the trachea, the heart, and most of your digestive tract, and that's why it's called the pneumo for your lungs, gastric, because it goes all the way to the bottom. Nerve. Nerve X, or the vagus nerve, is responsible for such varied tasks as heart rate, gastrointestinal peristalsis, sweating, and quite a few other muscle movements in the mouth, including speech. Very important because we're talking about the Ark of the Covenant, which means that we're talking about Moses. So note Isaiah 33 and Exodus 4. In Exodus, Moses is speaking to the Lord and said, "You have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and tongue." And you know that there's speculation out amongst Christian talk that Moses must have had a speech impediment. He must have been a stutterer, and that's what it was. But I want to say they're talking about the vagus nerve, because if your vagus nerve does not work, you won't be able to speak. Ventricles covent. Ventricles are interconnected fluid-filled cavities or channels within the human brain. Coven, covene, covent, 2 or more vents. Now there are 4 of these ventricles or cavities in our brain, 3 of which are located within the cerebrum. The lateral ventricles, I have listed 1, and then 2. One's in the front, goes around. It's because I have a side view of the picture up, but one runs on one side, one runs on the other side. So that's ventricle 1, ventricle 2, and ventricle 3 is right in the middle. I didn't add it on here, but I do want to say, you see all of the tiny little channels, the small little like vein-like structures that are connecting them all. Those are actually called cisterns, and it made me think of the scriptures in the Bible where it talks about, there's one that says, I think it says, only drink from your own cistern. I know that there's a couple that says you're not supposed to defile your cisterns, so I thought that that was interesting. Now the 4th ventricle lies posterior, dorsal, to the pons and the medulla of the brainstem, and anterior ventral to the cerebellum. I didn't list it also, but deep inside that 4th ventricle is where spinal fluid is made. And actually it has a double layer of pia mater around it, and it's because it connects, it's connecting, it's where all your spinal fluid is made, and it cleans it out, is what I want to say. Deep within, in the core of that, is a double layer of pia mater, and it helps to filter out all of the yuckies, I guess I want to say. And it kind of made sense, because as above, so below, as above. The 4th ventricle, right where the vagus nerve meets, is where that occurs, and that's where the cleaning happens. And then if you follow the vagus nerve, it goes all the way down to the colon, and that's where all of your nasties are down there. So to me it makes sense. It extends from the cerebral aqueduct, which I have with a little red arrow pointing at. It's another one of those little cisterns. Superiorly, extending inferior only to the central canal of the brainstem and spinal cord. It runs down into the tube, and it runs down the whole length of the spinal column as well. So far, out of the 4 cranial nerves, the 4th one is the only one that continues down into the body. And out of the cranial nerves, the vagus nerve is the only one that leaves the brain and continues down and does work in the body. They're both arcs to connect the higher and the lower, in my opinion. In the Bible, the Pishon is one of the 4 rivers, along with the Tigris, the Euphrates, and the Gihon in the book of Genesis. And in the passage, a source river flows out of Eden to water the Garden of Eden, and from there divides into 4 named rivers. So I'm pretty certain that the 4 rivers, 4 ventricles. Which are which, I'm not sure. Is the source river the spinal canal, the Jordan, because the 4th ventricle turns into or continues down, turns into the tube? Not sure. but I am sure that those are the 4 rivers that they're talking about. Let's get into the shape of the 4th ventricle. It has a characteristic diamond shape. Therefore, it is named the rhomboid fossa. It's a rhombus. And if you look, I put an X right in the middle there because right there is where the roots of your vagus nerve and the 4th ventricle meet. X marked the spot. I believe that X does mark the spot. I believe so. And actually, if you're looking down on that, like say that you were up in the air looking down at a boat, it looks like the shape of a boat as well. Okay, as I said, I'm not too keen. I'm not a math scholar. I excelled in science and grammar and English and spelling, language, but not math. So this is for the math people because I know that it applies. This is the same rhombus shape. In 1973, Roger Penrose found a set of 6 tiles that forced a periodicity. I didn't know what that meant, so I looked it up, and it means periods of reoccurrence. Later in 1974, he was able to reduce the set to 2 tiles. The shape of the pair of the Penrose tiles can vary, but most commonly are the kite and the dart, like the flag, like a flag, dart, kite, the boat shaped. These tiles are derived from a rhombus with angles 72 and 108 degrees. Golden ratio applies. I did not put up the dimensions for the Ark of the Covenant, but it's like the same exact thing. They have the height and the width the exact same number, and then they have the length like that size and a half. But at any rate, it's exactly the same. If you're a math person, you'll know what I'm talking about with this rhombus and the 72 and the 108 degrees. Okay, so the base of it is a diamond or a rhombus, or looks like the shape of a boat. And then it also has a posterior or a dorsal tent-shaped roof. Here, let me see if I can make I'll stop it. Oh, there it is. See, it has a little tent on the top of it. Note, when the Hebrews were at rest during the wanderings, the ark was placed within the tabernacle, a tent-like structure erected as a place of worship. Could this be the ark where the ark is built? I believe so. I really do. Next, we'll go on to the cherubim. That would be the sphenoid bone. Cherubim in Latin, sera, seru, sera, to cover, a covering. Cherubims cover or sit atop portions of the cerebellum and the cerebrum. My vagus nerve is messing up. I do want to make a note. If you look at that, well, again, if his head was turned sideways, then you could see it better. But that actually does look like 2 angels back to back with their wings spread out in front of them. That goes along with what the Bible, what the scriptures say, because I'm pretty sure it says that they don't face one another. They face away from each other. And every picture that you see, they're sitting on the top of the box and they're facing each other and bowing down. It looks like they're bowing down to each other, actually, is what the pictures that we see for the Ark of the Covenant. But this represents the 2 angels not facing each other a little bit better, in my opinion. Now here I've gone ahead and I've superimposed the cherubim, the sphenoid bone, over top of the brain. It's not quite. The brain should be like pushed, like tipped forward at the top, but it's pretty close. So you could see the cherubim sitting over top of the Ark of the Covenant. And I want you to see something. Take a second to look and see if you see what I saw. Look closely. You see anything? I'm going to show you what I saw. I took a marker and I traced around what I saw. I see a little guy sitting. I see a little guy sitting there. Is what I see. So I took the black and I outlined his head and his shoulders, his arms. It actually looks like he's sitting there reading a book. There's two nerve roots popping up in his lap, and knees. The book's on his knees, and his legs are hanging over the ledge there. Is that the mercy seat? I think it is. I really think it is. And it just so happens to be exactly where the vagus nerve or cranial nerve 10, X marks the spot right there that his bum is sitting on. The Ark of the Covenant was supposed to have held three things. The law of God on 2 tables or tablets. I'm going to interpret that as the right and the left hemisphere. The pot of gold or the pot of manna was in the ark. I believe that to be the lit optic thalamus, given divine spiritual knowledge. And lastly, Aaron's rod. And this is like the most important out of all of it, or brings it all together. Aaron, if you go and you look up what it means, Aaron means lofty or high up. So the third thing in the Ark of the Covenant was Aaron's rod, his budding rod. If we go and we look up what definitions of a rod are, many different ones, but I've put a few here that are applicable. One, and one of my most favorite, lightning conductor. A lightning conductor, or in botany, it would be the genus or the roots from which you sprang. I like that. 3, in mathematics, root 0, element x in the domain of a function. And I like that because, again, it just goes in with the X marks the spot, because I'm saying that Aaron's budding rod is the vagus nerve, the pneumogastric nerve, the Ida and the Pingala. But as I said earlier, was not so great. I think I just barely passed with the D algebra, and that's about as far as I got with the mathematics. So that's listed for the math people out there, but I know that it applies. And also we have the rod with the snake. We have Asclepius, we have Mercury, and then we also have Moses with the bronze serpent on the staff. If you recall, when Moses was thrown down with the Egyptian magicians, he threw his rod down and it turned into a snake, and it consumed the other snakes. It's absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion, speaking about the vagus nerve and the kundalini rising, and basically the two, the Ida and the Pingala, coming back together at the top and becoming one. Basically, you don't want two, you want it to be one. And again, I didn't list it on here, but it came to me after I made this just a little bit ago. The vagus nerve, as we went over earlier, it's what speech. It helps you to speak. whenever there was something big to be said or something to be, information to be dispersed, it came from Aaron's voice. Remember? Never Moses, Aaron's voice. Also, you can find definitions that a rod is a crossbar, and it tracks back to the cross, to a symbol of a cross. But also, I have a tiny little picture, I don't know if you can see it or not, on the bottom right corner, and they're cones and rods that are in our eyes. There are 120 million light sensing cells called rods, and they help us to see in the dark. They're our night vision. So I thought that that really applied. Seeing better in the darkness, a rod. But all representing pure spiritual guidance and wisdom. The serpent, be ye wise as serpents. So that's my opinion. And that the arc is right there where you see the X, where the fourth ventricle and the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, meet. I believe that that's the arc, and, well, that's one of the arcs. There's arcs all through this. There's arcs going up and down, arcs there, arcs throwing up into your thalamus, arcs everywhere. But that's my interpretation. I thought to myself, I think we're like human ionizers. If we can get the vagus nerve, the ida, and the pingala working properly, balanced, activated, etc. And I believe that that charges our spinal fluid. I really do. Ionized water is water with mineral ions in it, and the minerals in the water become ionized when they either gain or lose electrons, electrical charge. So water ionizers work by using electromagnetism, tongue-tied, to change and charge ordinary tap water into ionized alkaline water with acid-fighting alkalinity and antioxidant potential. As I said before, the neurogastric nerve, or the vagus nerve, it splits into two nerves, the ida, magnetic, and pingala, the electric, and it runs down both sides of your spinal canal. Meeting back up at the top there, bam, into the fourth ventricle. As you can see, I've got a little bow right there at the fourth ventricle. Boom. It's perfectly positioned to hit the bullseye of the optic chiasm. And then, boom, light up that optic thalamus. Arc is Latin for arcus, a bow, or an arch. And to me, it's perfect again. And I will finish with my last interpretation to wind it all up. If we look at the sun as if it is our mind, and the earth as if it is our body, and the rain are the water droplets that fall in between the two of us as the spirit, then we will see the rainbow, we'll see the arc. When the body is ruled or governed by divine mind and divine spirit, we will receive our coat or our covering of many colors. That's it, you guys. Sending you lots and lots of love, lots of light, knowledge, double, triple portions of wisdom to go with each and every portion of knowledge that you gain. Love yourselves and love each other. unconditionally. That's it. Look at that. It took a little bit more than 32 minutes to read through everything, and it took about 2 weeks to compile all the imagery and manipulate it, and a few months in my own mind contemplating and figuring things out, all to come out with it's going to end up being 33 minutes. I like it. It turned out to be 36. Well, that was 36:06, but it's finished. I had to go back in. I had only recorded the first part of my video and the last part of my video, so I just had to come in right now and redo the middle. So I ran like 3 minutes over, but that's it. Yeah, for 33 minutes of content. But yeah, I hope that everyone gained some helpful information and knowledge, and then some things are clear. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe, the like button, and share with your friends and family. And donate if possible. The channel is not monetized, and therefore I do not get listed or ranked too highly in the algorithm. So the only way to get the video seen is by word of mouth. Shout it out, click the thumbs up, and share it with your friends and your fam. That's it, you guys. Much love, peace, light, and love.